Hi there, I'm Mike, and it is my pleasure to bring you my review for Star Wars The Black Series, Garazeb, Orrelios. It's been a long time coming, but I finally completed my Ghost crew. Go ahead and take a look at a picture of him while I read the bio on the back of the new box here. Meet the muscle of the Ghost team. Garazeb Orrelios was a cunning Lasat honor guard who adopted the cause of the rebellion against the Empire. He first appeared in the Rebels cartoon. He's one of the main cast members. He is the last member they've completed for the Black Series versions of the team. All of these figures have been sort of modified to make them look more realistic because the cartoon has a very stylized vibe to it. But I would say of all of the figures that have come out, this one has been toned down the least. I feel like it still has a bit of that cartoony vibe because he was already kind of alien, so they didn't have to change it that much. The human characters more so, but I feel like the alien characters less so. Zeb's appearance here though is based off of early concept art from Ralph McQuarrie on Chewbacca's design, and that's actually true for a lot of stuff from Rebels. They took a lot of design cues from early Ralph McQuarrie designs, so this is what kind of an early Chewbacca looked like. Not entirely, but kind of. Like the bio says, he's a Lasat, and supposedly he's one of the last of his kind. Most of the Lasats had been wiped out by the Empire. Zeb here is voiced by legendary voice actor Steve Blum. If you don't know who Steve Blum is, he's probably voiced at least 5 characters from your childhood without you knowing it. He has been in everything. So let's talk about the looks of this character. What does he look like? And does he match kind of what we get on screen? And to answer that last one, I'll say absolutely he matches. This is a very good interpretation of what we see on screen to what I have in my hand. The face is great. He's got his sort of, cranky snarl that he always has. When you first meet him, he comes off as gruff and kind of mean, and he eventually opens up as every grouchy person with a heart of gold, which is something that I try to cultivate in myself as well. And the face really does a good job of capturing that. Now, the second thing I do want to talk about this, and I don't talk about this much, and that's the height. A lot of people do size comparisons in their reviews. I just don't. I don't know why. I always skip them when I watch them. They're just not interesting to me. But one of the things I want to point out here, because he is a deluxe figure, unlike a regular retail release, he commands a higher price. From what I get is that's just because he's such a big boy. Wikipedia says that he is 2.1 meters tall. Now, I kind of did some really quick Googling here, and that's about 6 feet 8 inches in a 1/12 scale figure, which is what the Black Series figures are. That's 6.8 inches in height. Now, he is a little bit taller than that. I measured him at about 7 inches from here to here. Now that can change based on how bent you have these legs. You can make him a little shorter, but at his tallest, I got him at about 7 inches, which is slightly too tall, but I'm not complaining. Zeb's a big boy. I like my big boys big. That's a phrase in a review I never thought I'd say, but it's true nonetheless. For the most part though, I think Hasbro really knocked it out of the park with the likeness here. This is pretty much what he wore for the entire series. There's not too many alternate looks they could have gone with for Zeb in the series, and even if there were, this is what he wore most of the time, so I'm glad they gave us this first. This is a definitive look for Zeb. So next, moving on from what he looks like, let's talk about what he comes with. He's a deluxe figure, so in my opinion, for the $10 more he costs than a normal figure, he should come with a lot. So what does he come with? The answer is this stick.
Only the honor guard of the sun may carry a bow rifle.
Technically, this is called a bow rifle. It comes like this in the package, so it's a staff of sort. That changes, and I'll get into that. But as a staff, it is thick. Now, he's got really big, thick hands, but I will say, it is really hard to get him to hold both hands on the staff. You can fudge it. You can make it so he's basically just kind of stopping the staff from falling rather than actually holding it. You can fake a couple of really cool poses, but for the most part, like this, he's holding it, but it's really hard to get that in both hands. And that's just due to the molding and the kind of the way the staff is versus how thick his hands are. I'm really afraid of breaking something, so I don't want to bend anything too much more than it should be, but I just kind of want to get that out of the way. It is a staff. This is the weapon of the Lasat Honor Guard, and as far as I understand, they preferred to fight in this mode. Now, to pull off the staff, they have some energy effects on each side, so that's kind of cool that it comes with those. They are removable, they are one piece. This, in my opinion, is what the Purge Trooper should have come with. If you watch my review for that, I kind of complain that they have this stupid little wraparound lightning style things. They're not great, they don't really stay on. This is actually super nice. They're clear magenta colored pieces of plastic. They fit snugly on each end and they come off just as easily, but not too easily. They don't fall off, but they're not really hard to pop on and pop off. The staff itself is made out of multiple pieces. There's lots of moving parts here. There's not a lot of paint, but there is some. There's a little bit of silverware kind of brushed onto it, and the bandages have paint on them rather than being colored plastic. Now that's the staff portion. The next thing the staff can do is actually turn into a blaster. So let's convert that real quick here. And here we have the bow rifle in its rifle form, I guess. Since it's a bow, it's a rifle. It's not a terribly complicated name, guys. It's basically just a couple of twists and pushing in, and that's it. It isn't the best in his hand. The handle's really thin and his hands are really thick. So again, much like the staff, he's not so much holding it as he is keeping it from just not falling on the ground. It definitely doesn't really want to fit in this hand when you have it in a two-handed pose like this. I find that the handle back here tends to want to kind of pop off. It's got a trigger here molded in, and he has a trigger finger molded, but I can't for the life of me get the actual finger on the trigger because the trigger is too soft, the plastic on the finger is too hard, and the handle wants to pop off and it doesn't fit in the grip anyway. So it's not the best in rifle mode in my opinion. It's fine, it's there, but I wish it were better. I wish it were molded a little better to fit in his hands a little better. Or just make it a separate piece. Honestly, I would have been okay if they had made a bow and a rifle separately. It's cool that it's a gimmick that it can actually transform, but I feel like there were some sacrifices they had to make here. The other thing I do wish it had is some sort of firing effect. The staff mode came with these little electricity things, but they don't fit on the blaster rifle here, and they don't look like blaster fire. So it would have been cool to have that extra effect to make it look like you were actually firing the blaster. The last mode that the bow staff goes into is essentially its storage mode. He has 2 pegs on the side right here and 2 pegs on his back. Let's get that transformed up into its storage mode. And here we have it on his back in its final mode. It does actually stay in pretty securely. It doesn't fall out. I don't know if the back is supposed to be like this with one handle on each side. In fact, I don't even know what the second handle is for. It seems largely decorative. I love that it has that storage. They could have not done that, but he actually wears it like this in the show. So if you wanted to be show accurate, this is the way. That's the wrong show. Carabast. I don't want to come across like I'm being super negative about this. I actually like it, and I know I haven't really said that yet. I've had a lot of critiques on it because I do wish it were better, and because of its price point, I'm going to critique it a little more because I'm holding it to a higher standard because it costs more. I like that it comes with this. I like that it has the gimmick of the transformation, but I'm going to point out some of the sacrifices they made to give it that gimmick. I feel like they could have done a little better, but at the same time, it looks fine. Now that being said, are there other things that he could have come with? Honestly, I kind of racked my brain for a bit. I couldn't think of any actual accessory that he could have come with, like in the show that he used, but I do think every Black Series figure should come with extra hands. An open hand, pointing hand, fisted hand. He comes with 2 kind of cuppy hands, and that's it. But at the very least, I would have chosen the blaster fire effect over all of those because, I mean, that just kind of makes sense to me. So that's it for his accessories. How does he move? Let's take a look at his articulation real quick. His head turns around, moves forward that far, back that far. It has a good waggle to it. His arm moves out that far, all the way around. He has a bend at the elbow that's about 90 degrees, and a swivel. His wrist has a swivel and a hinge. This wrist hinges this way. He has a great torso swivel. It moves forward like that, back like that. His leg moves out that far, back that far. Upper thigh swivel double hinged knee, and then a hinge at the backwards arrival legs, and a hinge at the ankle, as well as an ankle rocker, with this being his widest stance with both his feet flat on the ground. So he's got a lot of points of articulation here. His head has a wide range of movement. The problem that I have there is when you have him look all the way up, he doesn't have a neck. It's literally just his head on his shoulders. And it just looks like he has a gaping wound under his chin when he looks all the way up. Another noticeable absence here are the butterfly shoulders. I feel like they really could have done that. And being a figure with a two-handed weapon in either mode, it really would have benefited from having the ability to have his shoulders come a little bit more towards each other. That is something that I definitely feel like is missing. Other than that though, I feel like it's great. His elbows move really, really well. His hands move really, really well. The torso joint has a lot of flexibility, but the real star here are his legs. He has double joints on his knees and then another joint at his arrival backwards legs down here. It's very similar to what General Grievous has, but unlike General Grievous, he actually has a really good range of ankle tilt. So you can get a lot of really dynamic poses out of his legs. I love all the different poses you can put his legs into. They've done a really good job with this, but unlike General Grievous, he's very stable. Zeb is definitely a poser. Next, let's move on to his paint, sculpt, and the details here. There are a lot of really good paint apps on here and a lot of really great sculpt work. Starting from head to toe, let's take a look at this figure. First, that face. The face is a work of art. He has a fantastic sculpt on there. The lips, the wrinkles, the eyes are super green. The paint is sharp. All of his purple stripes on lighter purple color. The fading into the gray on his mouth and nose. I really love all the little details that get in here. Even his little pointy ears. Everything looks great. Moving down, he's basically wearing a green and yellow jumpsuit with a little bit of armor on it. The chest armor has a lot of dings and scratches molded into the plastic. It's got a lot of great paint apps, very, very sharp, no paint bleed from what I see. On the right arm, we have the extension of that chest armor that goes down to his shoulders. There's actually a couple of layers of sculpting on here. He has essentially a Tesla T on his shoulder as well as on his thighs. It's a very weird branding logo choice. His Lasani stripes on his arm are just as sharp and vivid as they are on his face, and his arm bracers are sculpted and well detailed. Now on the left hand side though, we have essentially the same thing as the right hand side, but on his shoulder, he has an extra bit of decoration. This definitely looks like the work of Sabine, the team's resident artist. I don't know what this is. I tried looking it up. It's some sort of finned, gilled, sharp teeth monster, like a fish or a shark or something, but I looked it up. I couldn't find what it was. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me. It isn't sharply painted, but that's by design. It's supposed to look like it was hand painted by another character. The other difference is on the arm guard. He has a couple of painted and sculpted buttons and dials, and I think that's just a communicator because they don't have phones in Star Wars. You can't watch YouTube on it, but he can call his mom. Also on his chest below the armor, like I said earlier, he has that sort of jumpsuit. It is yellow and green. Again, the paint is sharp. There's no bleed over anywhere. He has essentially like a wrestling belt that he definitely won in a heavyweight wrestling championship. The belt has some molded detail. It's got dark and light green paint apps all the way around it. And then on the front, it has a couple more like buckles and controls. Moving down to his pants, it kind of continues with that yellow and green sort of deco all the way down to his knees. He has some sculpted knee pads, a little detail. He's not wearing any shoes, but it looks like he should be. So he has the tops of them, but not anything below that. But I will say, unlike any other figure in the Black Series, or most of the figures, he actually has feet that are shown. And he's got these really cute little tootsies. I really like his feet. I think they're kind of adorable at the risk of sounding like some weird foot fetishist, which definitely not. Here we have some really nice, well-sculpted alien feet. There's a lot of great detail in here, despite the fact that it's broken up with obvious joints, and that's okay, because again, I'd rather them have that movement. I don't care that it didn't hide the joints. So they did a great job with this figure from head to toe. I will say though, based on the sculpting and the way the articulation is, I feel like this figure has actually been done for a while, and Hasbro was just waiting for a time to release it. Mostly just because it is lacking some of those new joint features like the shoulder. It has kind of the older style double jointed knees that Hasbro's been getting away from. Now, it could just be they did it because of the size or whatever, but I feel like this figure has been in the works for a long time, and it's probably even been done for a long time, but they waited a while to sort of release it. So let's move to the final category, which is want and availability. How much did I want this? And how easy is it to get? The first answer is a lot. He's actually been on a few of my wish lists. I didn't put him on this last wish list because it was one of those things that everyone knew he was coming out. He's been a rumor for what I feel like is forever. So yes, the want is there, especially because he was the last member we needed for the Ghost crew. The last two crew members before him were released in 2019. So we've been waiting for this last figure for over a year. And that's a long time in terms of, toys and action figures. A year feels like 10 years sometimes, especially this year. But how easy is it to find? Well, he and the rest of his entire crew were re-released this year, or just released this year in Zeb's case. They actually announced it concurrently with the announcement for the new Black Series packaging as an entire Rebels wave, and the sides of the boxes all kind of line up and show this really cool sort of mural that I don't have the rest of them yet, because I bought mine from Dorkside. Now you can buy yours almost anywhere. All of the Rebels figures that were released in the new boxes, including Zeb here, are fan channel exclusives. And what that means is that you can't find it at a regular retail store. If you go to like Target or Walmart, they're not gonna have it. But if you go to like GameStop or maybe Barnes & Noble or a comic shop or your local toy vendor or any online site, fan channel sites, they're gonna have it. He retails for $30, like I said, a little bit more than a normal figure. In my opinion, he's not too hard to get. He's actually been out since like August. This entire wave went up for pre-order back in May with an estimated release of August or September. It's now December. I finally got mine at the very end of November. I got tired of waiting, and the rumor was they were gonna ship them out in 2021, and I just couldn't wait that long for Zeb. So I ended up just scoring them off Amazon very easily for retail price. He's not hard to find, even a little bit if you want him. So where does he stand on my score chart? I'm gonna give him a 4 out of 5. He is an absolutely amazing figure. I feel like he's let down a little bit in the accessory department and in the articulation department, but they're mostly nitpicks. Yes, I wish he came with a couple of extra effects and maybe some hands. Yes, I wish the bow rifle were a little bit better. Yes, I wish his articulation was a little bit better. But for the most part, he is a very, very, very solid figure. And now I need an Agent Callus to go with him. His immortal frenemy. Go watch Rebels. It's actually really good. It takes a little bit to get into it, but once you're into it, you're into it. I don't want any of my nitpicks to really take away from what I love about this figure. And I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if you saw him in my top 10 list for 2020. And now that we've completed the Ghost crew, I wouldn't mind some other figures to kind of go along with this. Like I mentioned, Agent Callus would be great, but now that we've got a Lasat, I wouldn't mind getting Jedi Master Jero T'Pol, who is Cal Kestis' master in Jedi Fallen Order. I think those would be some fantastic figures to see in 2021. Hint, hint, Hasbro. And with that, that's my review for Zeb. Let me know down in the downstairs area, what did you think? Do you have it? Do you like it? Did I convince you to buy it? Are you passing on it? I love to read and respond to all the comments. I'd like to take a moment to thank the people that support me on Patreon at a Black Series level or higher. Thanks a lot, folks. It means a lot to me that your name is up here. If you want to see your name up here, you can head down to my Patreon down in the downstairs area. I also do have a channel membership for YouTube if you want to join that. It's like $1 and it does help out the channel as well. If none of those are your thing, down in the downstairs area, there are a couple of ways you can help the channel out, up to and including liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting the bell for more notifications, and that's it. Thanks for watching, thanks for getting this far, and I'll see you later. Bye.